What's up, YouTube? I am the Vanilla Nerd, and today I'm going to review Sherlock Holmes. This is the movie that came out in 2009 with Robert Downey Jr., if the little title card didn't give it away. So, anywho, I really like this film. I think it is fantastic. I especially like that this take on Sherlock Holmes is very physical. He's very strong and very competent in fighting and stuff. That's not something that's typically shown in a Sherlock Holmes movie. I also like the villain, Lord Blackwood. Sorry, I'm going to mix those up a lot today. But I like Lord Blackwood. He's appropriately creepy and terrifying, and he may not be the coolest or deepest villain ever, but he's creepy, and he does his job well. But I also love the overall mystery of this film. I definitely had no idea really where it was going, and at the end, when Sherlock kind of reveals it all, it is very satisfying and very well done. So, all in all, this is a really fun movie, one that I am excited to talk about, and let's get into it. As usual, I want to start off this review with character, and let's talk about our main man, Sherlock Holmes. Now, I want to reiterate that I love his physical presence in this movie. The fact that he's not just going to stand back and use a gun or fence with a little sword. He's going to punch people. He's going to beat them up. And he knows how to do it. I love his intelligent takedowns. And in the very first scene of this movie, we see him take down a would-be sentry, steal his hat and lantern, and use it as a quick disguise. And the intelligent takedowns are so cool, so fun. I like to describe it as having your cake and eating it too, because they get to show the action in slow motion for some really fun and dynamic shots, but then they get to show it sped up 2 seconds later after you have the voiceover by Sherlock describing what he's going to do, and it works really well. Now, I'd like to take a second to talk about the fact that some people think the intelligent takedowns are a little overpowered, and that may be true, but I feel like this movie does a good job of showing when the intelligent takedowns don't work, mainly in the character of Dredger. This guy is big, he's tough, he's huge, and Sherlock cannot beat him up just using his intelligence and his brawn. He doesn't have enough stuff to do that, and so that shows a very real conflict with him being unable to use his intelligent takedowns. The other thing is, it very much seems like Sherlock needs a second to think through it. However fast he is at deducing and stuff and making a planned attack, he does need a few seconds each time to really think about it. With the sentry, he stood behind the wall waiting for that element of surprise, waiting to fully think about it. Same thing with the in the boxing ring. With the boxer, he needed a second to think about, how am I going to humiliate this guy? How am I going to beat him up? And again, he used surprise. So in both those cases, I think it's a good reason why the intelligent takedown isn't too overpowered. He needs to have those things in order to do it well, but I digress. Ultimately, the intelligent takedowns are super cool, super dynamic, super fun. I also love Sherlock's overall intelligence. He is super smart in this movie, and there's a number of ways they show that. One of my favorites is him noticing the glass dagger. However silly and goofy a glass dagger is for Lord Blackwood to have, Sherlock does notice it, and Watson does not, and it's fantastic. I also love when he has a bag put over his head, and he goes to kind of the magic aficionados people's houses, and he just deduces exactly where he is, exactly who they are, and he even tells the little old guy, hey, you're Blackwood's father, aren't you? And it's just brilliant. So Sherlock's super fun in this movie. I like him a lot, and yeah. Next, let's talk about Watson, and I love Watson. He is so fun in this movie, and I love how, as opposed to some traditional versions of the character, he's not in awe of everything Sherlock does. He just is more exasperated by him and frustrated that he has to put up with him. And I know this dynamic isn't necessarily new to this version of the character, but I think Jude Law does a really good job with it, and it provides some of the funniest scenes in the movie, just with him being at his wit's end with Sherlock. It's hilarious and very entertaining. Very, very fun. But I also love his overall look and dynamic, from his fun top hat to his cane sword. he's just so cool. He is really, really cool. Another silent thing that I'd like to add about this character is I really like how smart he is. Sherlock explains things to him and he understands them. He's not asking for help. He's not needing extra advice or anything. He gets it, and he is really smart. But compared to Sherlock, he seems less smart. But he is really cool, and I like that. Now I want to talk about Lord Blackwood, and I really like this villain. No, he's not Moriarty, and no, he's not Darth Vader or Thanos or the next big bad. But he is evil, and he is creepy, and he is a mastermind, and I love that about him. He has the creepiest of teeth. That always freaks me out a little bit. And I also love what he represents. He's kind of the supernatural to Sherlock's logical. It's very fascinating. Now, ultimately, he doesn't fully believe in the supernatural. He uses scientific methods to achieve the supernatural, but that is really cool how he challenges Sherlock in that way, and that's really awesome. Another thing that I love about this character is that he's quiet and composed the entire film, like the entire movie. He's quoting scripture. He's being creepy. He acts as if he's in control and in command, and he's never worried about anything until the very end when he's hanging for his life by the little thing around his ankle, and he's freaking out. He's realizing he's about to die, and he's like, Sherlock, cut me loose. Sherlock, please. And it's fantastic because he's just this cool, composed villain until he breaks and Sherlock breaks him, and it's great. So I really like Lord Blackwood. I think he may not be the coolest villain ever, but he certainly works really well for this film. Finally, I want to talk about Irene Adler, and I think she's a very fun love interest in this movie for Sherlock. I really like how in control she is the entire time. And just like Blackwood, she has her moments where she's not in control, and that's around Moriarty, but otherwise, she knows what she's doing. She's got it. Girl boss. Yay. And then I also love how Sherlock always pretends not to be as interested in her as he actually is. And that's just really fun and really entertaining. So, yeah, not much to say about this character. I do like how at the end of the movie they give a very real reason why she'd be working together with Holmes and Watson. And then, she eventually steals a little chemical bomb and leaves. But it's still a really fun character and still a good addition to this movie. All right, so now that we're done with talking about character, let's move on to the plot of this movie. And I really enjoy the plot of this movie. I think it's very, very fun. I particularly love the mystery and how it all plays out. Now, the movie does a not-so-sneaky trick of just not telling you what the clues mean that Sherlock is finding, but it does do a really good job of finding clues throughout the film, so you do feel like it's progressing. You get a little bit revealed, just enough about every couple of minutes or so you feel like it's progressing, but not enough for you to really fully understand what is going on, what is happening. And so I really like how that all works. And then at the end, when you have this very cathartic Sherlock on the bridge describing Blackwood's plan perfectly, and just completely exposing him. So fantastic. Really enjoy it. The other thing that I want to talk about with this plot and just how strong it is the film's opening scene. And so this is the scene where Watson and Sherlock take down Blackwood's initial crime. You see them save a poor girl from death, and he beats everyone up. It's fantastic, and here's why. First, you see Sherlock beat up a sentry using his intelligent takedown, and right off the bat, you see that brain with the brawn working, and you see, oh, this is the kind of Sherlock we're going to get. Second, you see Watson rushing in to help out his friend, and just how good friends they are, from that really fun scene of them both taking off their hats at the same time. Next, we see them both beat up this 8 or so guys who are the cronies of Lord Blackwood, and you see that they're competent and that they can take on 8 guys and still save the day. Fantastic. And then You have Lord Blackwood, the villain, being set up right from the get-go, being this creepy dude who's into the occult lore and is evil and stuff. And then you see Sherlock being this genius, smart dude who sees the little glass blade and who makes sarcastic remarks to the police and whatnot. He reemphasizes his point as a private investigator, and the scene finishes with Sherlock covering his face away from the camera, just showing off that desire to be anonymous and no one knows who he is. And it's fantastic. I love the first scene of this film. Right from the get-go, you know this is going to be a good movie, and it is, and it's awesome, and I love it. Finally, with the plot, I want to talk about Sherlock and Watson's relationship. I think it's the strongest part about this movie, and I really appreciate it. What I find really fascinating about this movie is rather than focusing on Sherlock and Watson at the beginning of their friendship or in the middle of their friendship, they focus it at the end when Watson's about to get married. And that is really powerful and creates for some really fun moments. I love all the quiet moments between Sherlock and Watson where they can't quite express what they truly mean to both of each other just because, they're gruff men. They're not going to talk about it. But they both are very grateful that the other one is in their lives. And it's hard for them to admit that. And it's fantastic. It's great. And so you throw in this really strong friendship with a really fun mystery and a really good villain, and you get a really good movie. So that's what I think makes the plot of this film work. This leaves us just one more thing to talk about, and that is the setting. And I'm going to keep this brief, but I do really enjoy the setting of this Sherlock Holmes movie. It's nothing new. It's the late 1800s in London, but it's still really, really fun and works really, really well. I love the costuming, especially all the fun coats and the bowler hats and the top hats. They're so cool, so entertaining. But I also just love the cane sword. I'm still not over that cane sword. It's so cool, so fun. So it works really well. I don't think it makes a super big impact on this movie, but it is there and it works good. So, to sum up, with a really solid cast of characters, with a really fun plot, with a strong friendship at the center, and entertaining setting, you get yourself a really good movie, and that is Sherlock Holmes. And so, I like Sherlock Holmes, and this is my review of it. See you guys later.